What's going on, everybody? Voidlego here, back with a brand new episode of Chaos Head Noah. Last time we were on, we finished up Yua's route, in which we went with Mia to the very top of the tower that her sister had jumped off with the other group in the group dive incident, and she decided to go out the same way as her sister did by jumping off and experiencing death firsthand, in which at her very last moment, she was afraid and wanted to live more than anything else. But all of a sudden, she opens her eyes and she is still on the rooftop. It seems like Takumi let her experience what it would be like if she did jump off the tower, but because of his reality altering powers, he made sure that it never happened, that it was simply a delusion within Mia's head. And so he embraces Mia in a nice hug. Concluding that, and now we are on with Ayase's route, in which most of the same things have happened with slight variations, of course. But right now, Takumi's about to see Ayase after Ayase talked to good old-fashioned trustable Sua and all that. So I'm quite interested as to see where this goes, really, and how this ends up. Like, what is going to be the relationship between Ayase and Takumi? Because Yua's relationship, or I should say Mia, was very hostile. Well, with this, it could be something very different. So, well, let's find out. I showed up at school on Thursday for one reason, and one reason only, to meet up with Masumi-kun so we could go see Ayase in the hospital. Granted, he had more or less forced me to tag along, but I still figured that maybe Ayase could help me out. With Remy seemingly out of the picture, I need someone else to protect me, and Ayase was one of the candidates I had in mind. So maybe, just maybe, if she had already recovered somewhat, she might have been able to do something to that effect. And on top of that, with her help, my chances of obtaining a real this sword would skyrocket. I really couldn't do it on my own. Then again, it was Ayase herself who'd said obtaining a disc sword isn't something one can teach. But still, this was Ayase we were talking about here. Surely she could help somehow. Coming in through the front entrance, Masumi-kun looked around the lobby in confusion. "What's wrong?" I called out to him.
いや、岸本の病室ってどこなんだろうなって思ってよ。
Had he seriously come this far without knowing that? This guy was beyond belief sometimes.
ここは外来棟だよ。病棟は隣。
そうなのか。
Do you think with your other head all the time, Masumi? Probably. AH Tokyo General Hospital. It was the hospital I'd gone to ever since I was a kid. I didn't come here just the other day, so I was pretty knowledgeable on where everything was. Just, okay. Yeah, it seems like all this is new. Even though it is information we've learned about many times over, it seems like all this is new text, so just checking. Dr. Takashina's face flashed across my mind, and I involuntarily groaned to myself. As we walked to the hospital ward, Masumi-kun turned to me.
で、病棟の何号室だと思う？
そんなのわかんないよ。
This was a general hospital, so there were obviously a ton of different wards and departments. If I had to guess...
多分外科じゃないかな。でももしかすると精神科かも。
There hadn't been any visible injuries on Ayase after she'd fallen. And considering she attempted suicide, her mind had likely been brought to the brink, so her being in the psychiatric ward seemed very possible. Even I'd been taken to the psych ward after the uproar at Ophorant.
タクって物知りだな。
Yes, I know the general layout of a hospital. Truly amazing. Figured that wandering around the ward would cause problems for the patients, we decided to ask for help at the nurse's station, and just like I predicted, they told us that she was on the floor for psychiatric patients.
なあ、この前話したよな。女を落とすのに一番簡単な方法。
Misumi-kun grinned from ear to ear as the two of us walked down the hall. Was that seriously your only reason for visiting her in the hospital? Herder. At least have the common sense to not talk about it out loud. Regardless, I think he said the fastest way was act like you care in their moment of weakness or something like that.
俺は今日こそあの難攻不落の岸本を落としてみせるぜ。
Yeah. Misumi-kun shone a pearly white smile and gave me a thumbs up. Didn't matter how confidently he said them. The words coming out of his mouth were totally disgusting, but I guess he could get away with it because of his good looks. Must have been nice being an alpha male.
んでだ。お前って岸本と仲いいだろ？
別に。
しらばっくれるなよ。というわけでフォロー頼むぜ。岸本にいかに三角大輔って人間が素晴らしいかを語ってくれ。
Yeah, yeah.
無理だよ。
無理とか言うなって。マジ頼むからさ。
Have a little restraint, will you? You're at a hospital, not a mixer. With him acting like this, was it even a good idea to have him see Elise at all? It wasn't like she really cared much about him anyway. Pit of my stomach was getting deeper and deeper by the second.
お、タク。病室はここじゃねえか？
Oh boy. Basumi-kun stopped in front of a door and pointed at the nameplate. Definitely did say Kishimoto Elise. Door was closed though, so we couldn't actually see who was inside.
いいか？うまく俺に話を合わせろよ。
うん。
For the time being, I nodded in agreement. Although even if I did get the chance to say something to Elise, I doubted I'd be able to say much, regardless of whether Misumi-kun was there or not.
おーす、岸本さん。
Misumi-kun opened the door, greeting Elise with a cheerful tone. She's not going to be here.
お見舞いに来た。
But that tone didn't last very long. His face immediately froze, wondering what made him stop. I just let it peek over his shoulder. That's a lot more swords than... That's Kishimoto's. That's Remy's. And I'm pretty sure the cross one is fucking, Nanami's. What? Wait, what? The room was around 10 square meters in size. Past the entrance, there was a bathroom to the right and a bed in the back, and on the bed... What the fuck? Sat Elise, stained with blood from head to toe. Her hollow eyes pierced straight through us. What? Okay, that's a fucking different... I did not what? Misumi-kun let out a pathetic scream, then shoved me aside and flew out the room. I wanted to run as well, but... my legs were frozen in place. I quivered in fear. And yet, at the same time, I was struck by the bewitching beauty of the blood-drenched girl, as well as the things leaning against the wall behind her. I couldn't move an inch from where I stood. The objects resting there as if it were the most normal thing in the world were disc swords. 3 of them, to be precise, including one I'd seen her wielding before. Each one had a different shape. One had a form so strangely sophisticated it could barely pass for a sword. Another was shaped like a cross, its form evoking a sense of heart-rending pity. And the last one, which Elise had used before, appeared mystical yet aerodynamic. Why did Elise have 3 disc swords? Have you been killing people, Elise? Wait, why did I assume that a person could only have one? Maybe Sana and Kazuki had multiple swords too.
Takumi.
She called my name and I gulped. She began to approach me, her body surrounded by an air of elegance. I was frozen in place.
来てくれたのね。
どうしてそんなに血が。
Her pajamas were dyed crimson by abundance of blood that hadn't even dried yet. The rusty smell of fresh blood seeped into my nose.
黒騎士の血よ、これは。
What?
黒騎士って綾瀬本人？
いいえ、
I thought they had to team up, not for you to kill all of them.
ちょっと誰？綾瀬はその人を殺したの？
Don't do that. We smiled a wide smile, then she giggled.
怯えているのね、匠。
She stroked my cheek with her blood-soaked fingers. Oh my, what the fuck happened to you?
でも君を怯えさせているのは君自身の心の内にあるものよ。不浄なる邪心に打ち勝って純粋な邪心のみを心に留めるのよ。そうすればディソードは手に入る。手に入れてもらわなくちゃいけない。君は黒騎士なのよ。君には力があるわ。
ディソードを手に入れたら僕も殺すの？黒騎士を殺してきたんだろう？
惑わされないで。それが不浄なる邪心よ。
Elise peered at my face, her hand still on my cheek. Her eyes looked hollow, and yet I could sense a profound radiance buried deep within them. I couldn't take my eyes off her.
黒騎士は本来なら邪心を制御できるわ。けれど邪心王は巧妙だった。グラジオール記黙示録詩編第6巻2章50節。グラジオールは邪心を少しずつ侵食することで静かに支配を完了し邪心の暴走を引き起こすのよ。
Jesus.
負けてはいけないわ。邪心王の精神侵略に。
This really goes to show you the power of interpretation drives people to do things they wouldn't do beforehand. Well, that and the mental torture that Elise went through at a very young age, which made her more susceptible to those books. Where the fuck did those books come from, anyway? I had never made eye contact with a 3D girl for this long before. I was completely captivated by the traces of sorrow, desolation, and vigor in her eyes. I didn't listen to a single word she said.
守って。
When I snapped out of the trance, I found myself muttering that.
僕を守ってくれ。
いいわ。
Elise nodded without a second thought, and then she brought her face closer to mine. The stench of blood grew stronger, becoming more and more overwhelming.
これは予定されていたこと。
She whispered softly in my ear. My heart was racing.
君を守るわ。君も私を守って。
With her body smeared in blood, she was so corrupt, so impure, and yet so bewitching at the same time. It was hard to believe that a girl like her was a student at my school, in the same year as me, no less.
他の黒騎士はもう当てにはできない。最初は予言通りに黒騎士を集めようと思ったけれど、私の力では無理だった。
Huh.
でも匠がいてくれるなら。
Just like she had at the concert, Elise showed me a face that was unbearably seductive, a face she rarely ever showed.
いずれ完全に開くわ。呼吸とその門は。その時邪神王はこの世に降臨する。だから急いで集めるのよ。7本のディソード。
Oh, shit.
私と君2人で。
There were 3 death swords written against the wall. In other words, there were 4 left.
うち1本は匠、君が見つけるべきディソードよ。
僕は手に入れられなかった。
Back at Ophron, I came so close, but in the end, I'd thrown it all away, given up completely again to sword.
落ち込むことはないわ。 機会はいくらでもやってくる。すでに匠は見えているんだから。
Huh.
それこそが君が黒騎士である証拠よ。
いつか手に入るのかな。
不浄なる邪神に打ち勝てば必ず。
What was wicked heart supposed to mean? Was she saying my heart was wicked and impure because of my perverted delusions or something? Oh god, it would not be easy to conquer that. Probably even impossible. What the fuck? Louise let go of me and returned to her bed, and right when she did, she suddenly began undoing the buttons on her pajamas.
着替えるわ。
Flustered, I instantly looked away. Figured I should probably leave the room, but right as I went to, truly shows how we're more accustomed to violence than nudity in our society. Yeah, covered in blood. Yeah, sure. You know, obviously, fucking Takayumi's like, oh no, you're covered in blood or whatever. But as soon as she's about to take off her clothes, oh no, I don't want to look at that.
そこにいて。
After hearing that, I couldn't move an inch. The only thing I heard after that was the sound of Louise taking her clothes off, echoing throughout their quiet room. The hospital room wasn't very big. It was slightly larger than my base, but still pretty small. And so there I was, alone in a tiny room with Louise, and she was right behind me, changing clothes. I could tell it was happening right behind my back. Shit. I was so nervous, but why? It made no sense. It wasn't like I wasn't used to this kind of stuff. There was a scene just like this in that one Woge, Slime Girl appears, with CGs by Azuma Marashima.
なぜ目をそらすの、匠。
だって見ちゃまずいし。
My voice almost cracked as I spoke.
恥ずかしいのね。
綾瀬は恥ずかしくないの。
Was she trying to tell me that it was okay to look? I mean, I wasn't into 50 girls, not even remotely. That being said, if she was giving me permission to work, I wasn't going to say no.
惑わされているのよ、君は。
Fooled.
その感情こそが邪神に侵食されている証拠。
Whoa, what?
惑わされているって誰に。
What does wicked heart mean?
邪神をグラジオール。
Is wicked-hearted king supposed to represent society? Or, wait, what the hell doesn't... What? I casually picked up the book on the bedside table in front of me. On the cover was the Grador Saga, Volume 17, the Book of Psalms and Revelation.
グラジオールって何なの。
邪悪なる存在。負の妄想の塊。
Negative delusions.
人の心の闇に偏在する無意識の集合体。
Huh. Okay, so kind of like, the demiurge?
世界に破滅をもたらす神。言い方はいろいろ。
そいつは車椅子に乗ってるの。足が不自由とか。
グラジオールは人の形をしているとは限らないわ。もういいわよ、こっちを見ても。
Okay, good. You're not covered in blood anymore. Slowly turned back around to face Louise. She was already done changing clothes. For some reason, she was now wearing her school uniform.
なんで制服に。
迫っているから、グラジオール覚醒の時が。いつでも動けるようにしておかないと。
Wouldn't normal clothes be better? Well, whatever. What's done is done.
グラジオールがギガロマニアックスとどう関係してくるの。
ギガロ？何？
She doesn't know that term. Elise raised her eyebrows in confusion. Seemed like she didn't know. Maybe Gigglomaniac was just a term that Senna used for them. I like this. You know what? I would love to see an interaction between Senna and Elise. Because their two perspectives are very interesting. Senna views it from more scientific, more logical point of view, considering she was kind of a part of it because her father was a part of it and she saw her own mother, eat the corpse of her sister, right? And all that. So she tries to justify all of it using logic, pure scientific, just logic to try to justify it within her own brain, which was why as soon as she confronted her father at the end there, she couldn't really bring herself to kill him because it's the one thing you can't explain is emotion and family. Even if you hate your father or your mother or some person of your family, there is still a bit of yourself that can't help but love them because they are family, that sort of thing. And so in that moment, she wasn't able to kill her father, and why she was so distraught when Sua killed him instead. While with Elise, she comes from the point of view of religion, spirituality. That all of this has a spiritual meaning to it. That we were given these swords because we are Black Knights sent to Earth in order to drive the Glaudor, the wicked-hearted king out of the world and make it a better place. The question is, what does wicked-hearted mean to Elise? What does that mean? What interpretation does she have of this? Because she's already killed 3 people. She's already killed Remy and Nanami, obviously. So, what is her version of wicked-heartedness? What does that mean to her specifically? So this is going to be a really good... I think this is going to be a really good route. Holy shit. And I like this. I really like... these different routes are both about the girls' personalities and stuff and learning more about them and their kind of relationship with Takumi and also their own personal issues. For example, Yila's issue was survivor's guilt. Or Mia. Survivor's guilt for surviving instead of dying like her sister and trying to justify that within her own head by pinning everything on Takumi, obviously. Here, Elise, it's going to be how she deals with her trauma by replacing it with religion. Probably with Senna as well, with replacing her trauma with science, with logic. And also, I guess once we get to Kazui, it's going to be her issue with being probably ignored by the world and her kind of shyness against the world itself. So it's really interesting. I really like these routes, and they provide such an interesting structure or setup, really. But anyway, enough about that.
ギガロマニアックスだよ。セナはディソードを持つ力の持ち主のことをそう呼んでた。ディソードはディラックの海につながったパイプだとかなんとか。
呼び方は人それぞれかもしれないわ。ディソードは人の邪心を具現化したものよ。グラジオール記目視録詩編にそう書いてある。第3巻11章23節。予言書なのよ、それは。
As she said that, her gaze was fixated on the book in my hands.
みんなはこう言うわ。私が歌詞によって予知を行っていると。
Aw, that's a cute sprite.
だけど私は グラジオール記目視録詩編からインスピレーションを受けているだけ。その詩編こそ予言の書なのよ。なぜ気づかないの、誰も。
予言の書って冗談でしょ。
事実よ。この渋谷で今まさに起きていることを、そしてこれから起きようとしていることをツイグラーは予言し物語にしている。
Zyger.
ツイグラー
Ziger? Or Zyger? Zyger? I'm just going to say Zyger.
グラジオール記目視録詩編の作者。個人だけれどツイグラーは強大な黒騎士だったと思うわ、私は。
I was really starting to think that Black Knights were just her term for Guromaniacs. Gee, now? And if the author of this book was a Guromaniac, then no wonder he could predict the future. I skimmed through the book I was holding, the Glador Saga, Volume 17, the Book of Psalms and Revelation, and what I saw shocked me. It was blank. Oh. What? No matter how many pages I turned, no matter where I looked inside the book, I thought the CG was like, because sometimes, artists like, draw a book and there's like no text on it, and then the characters are like, oh, look at all this text, because that artist just didn't want to fucking draw lines or whatever. But, there wasn't a single word. What the hell? I turned back to check the front cover. It wasn't a normal book cover, it was almost entirely blank. All that was written was the title and the author, not even the name of the publisher. What the fuck? Once again, I tried flipping through the book from the beginning, but even the first page was blank. And no matter how many pages I went through, I couldn't find a single one with any writing.
これ不良品。
どういうこと？
Oh shit.
だってこれ全部白紙じゃないか。
何を言っているの？
Their own delusions. That's right. That's right. That's a thing we have to remember about Gigglomaniacs. They have their own delusions as well. Obviously, since we've come from the perspective of Takumi, who has delusions all the time, it kind of like, I kind of forget that. They also have their own fucking delusions. Like, for a case of Yua, or Mia, she believed she was Yua because of her delusions and stuff like that. Which is, I guess, a kind of side effect of being a Gigglomaniac, that you're able to create books of fiction within your own mind, and you're the only one that can see it. Shit.
ちゃんと書かれているわ。何度も読んでいるのよ、私は。
そんなこと言ったって。ほら。
I was kind of curious of like, damn, volume 17, man, this author was really prolific. This saga. I shoved the open book right in Luisa's face.
どこからどう見ても真っ白だよ。
ちっとも白紙なんかじゃないわ。
いや、白紙だって。
ここに字が書いてある。見えないの、匠。
Was she screwing with me? Or was she actually being serious? Maybe Elise had been a complete mental case all along, and I only realized it just now.
君には見えないのね。侵食されているからだわ、写真王に。
Oh boy. Elise was dead serious. She really didn't seem to be joking. In fact, I was pretty sure I'd never see her crack a joke even once before. I took another look at the book, but I really didn't see a thing.
僕には白紙にしか見えないよ。
そう。
Elisa's shoulders drooped in disappointment, and she then took the book from my hands. Her hands were cold to the touch.
考えたことがある？
何が？
世界は人によって見える形が違うということ。
Yeah.
その差異を確かめることはできないわ。概念や認識を他人と完璧に一致させることは不可能だから。
Well, I've talked about all that and you may not go, but yeah.
でもこれだけははっきりしている。君が見ているものと私が見ているもの、その違いは邪神による影響よ。邪神の集合体が邪神をグラジオール。
Do you want to destroy society? Whis, is that what you're like? Is,
目覚めようとしている。もうすぐ。もしも目覚めたら、きっとこの世に67億ある世界は邪神王が生む混沌によって混じり溶け合うことになるわ。
well, I mean, you may be a little crazy, Whis, but you are kind of right on that with fucking Noah.
境界が消え、邪神により連結された世界になるのよ。あらゆるものが規則性もなく生まれ、あらゆるものが一瞬で死ぬ。概念も認識も因果律もすべて破壊される。すべてあるがゆえに何もない世界。あらゆる神話と同じように予言されているわ。終末予言、滅びの歌。
Was that really true? Was that what was written in that blank book? In the Galdor book of Psalms and Revelation?
このままでは滅びの結末に至るだけ。今止められるのは私と君二人しかいないの。
どうして僕ら二人なの？
導きよ。他の黒騎士はすでに邪神王に侵食されてしまった。
Wait, Elise had said earlier that the blood on her was from the other Black Knights. Did she kill them somewhere in this hospital? She had, then where were all the bodies? Then right as I thought that, Elise walked past me and placed her hand on the door.
どこ行くの？
おしっこよ。
Oh, okay. With a deadpan expression, she answered me, then headed off while waiting for my reply. Wow, saying all that shit and just like, oh yeah, I gotta pee now. Alright, Elise.
Huh?
I walked around the room, trying to find more volumes of the Godor saga, but no dice. I don't know how many volumes there were in total, but the one I picked up before was the 17th. Volumes 1 through 16 were nowhere to be found. Of course, it was possible that she just hadn't brought them to the hospital. Yeah, but did it even exist in the first place? I feel like Sua did, like, mention that, like, it was an actual series. I think. I still couldn't believe that the book was totally blank, despite seeing it with my own two eyes. And so I left the room before Reese came back. Huh. So the hospital had this corner set up on the far end of the lobby. Countless species were lined up there, and they all had internet access, something I'd learned from the countless times they've been here. Hey, here we go. Now that visiting hours had ended, all signs of life in the lobby had vanished. Even though it was so busy during the day, the lobby was now covered by an eerie silence, making it impossible for me to calm down. I definitely get kicked out if the nurse saw me, so I made a dash for those PCs. I was an idiot, knew a thing or two about Western mythos and stuff, and I'd learned it from all the anime, manga, and games I'd gone through. But even with all that, I'd never ever heard of the Galador saga before. First time I'd ever even seen the name was when I looked into Luis online. So without further ado, time to look it up. Good old Google. Alright. I got quite a few results, way more than I expected actually, which worried me. Maybe I really was the only one who didn't know about it. But as I looked closely at the results, I noticed one common denominator. All of them had something to do with Phantasm or Fess. Whenever the Galador saga was mentioned, it had to do with something Fess mentioned or Phantasm's world building, and there's stuff like that. It was all a bunch of hearsay. But no matter how much I searched, I couldn't find any discussion of the actual contents of the book. Uh, oh my god. There was a wiki entry for it, but it barely even touched upon the premise. Here we go. From the Wiki Pedophilia Encyclopedia of Useless Knowledge. I swear to God, some of these translations are insane. Uh, the Galador Saga, fictional. A series of high fantasy novels based on the Eastern European myth of Galador, the wicked-hearted king, told over the course of 23 volumes. It depicts the battle between the Seven Black Knights and Galador. It was written by R.C.O. Zeiger from 1929 to 1951. This series has been translated to several languages, but it never gained widespread appeal due to its rather esoteric writing style. The series is no longer in print in Japan, rendering it very difficult to find. Esoteric writing style, huh? This actually, the Galador Saga really does sound like an old, like, mysterious book series, from like the fucking 1950s, like Ulysses, for example. So there was always some like interesting books. I gotta read some of them, like Slaughterhouse 9 and shit like that. Anyway, fictional and series. Okay, I just read this. Yep. That was all that was written there. Compared to the pages on other legends, each of which were filled to the brim with information, this one felt a little lacking. Even the wiki page in this sword went into more detail than those. Since this was wiki pedophilia, the free encyclopedia that anyone could edit, there's really no way to verify its accuracy. The picture on the Discord page had been entirely off the mark, for example. In the end, there was one thought that kept coming to the forefront of my mind. What if the Galador cycle was simply a product of Reese's delusions? Yeah? Because I was wondering of, like, when did she read this? Like, obviously it would be, like, after she gets out of the hospital, and she reads the series, and she becomes infatuated by it. But I guess maybe they broke her mind so much that she thinks she read a saga of books. Maybe Elise was trying to create some sort of Lovecraftian mythos or something. Ooh, the King in Yellow. Huh? Need to read that book. Hell, Lovecraft himself, if I remember correctly, had used his books to share his crazy delusions with others. Yeah, Lovecraft's mythos are kind of like a collective consciousness type thing. A lot of people like added onto it, such as the King in Yellow. If that was what Elise was doing for songs, then all this, even though it might have sounded kind of cool, was just a whole load of crazy schizo bullshit. And to make things worse, Elise didn't seem to realize that. She was confusing it with reality. Was everything Elise told me nothing but her insane delusions? Maybe the whole apocalypse thing was simply some delusion she wanted to see. Typical Chumbio stuff, tortured kids who just wanted to see the world burn.
ああ、それは僕もだった。
So if that was true, then what exactly did Elise actually want to happen? What kind of ending did she wish to reach? How did she want this legend to end? Yeah. And was she someone I could trust?
信じるも何も。綾瀬しかいないじゃないか。
Yeah, considering Rami's dead, so is Nanami, so you know. But you don't know that yet. Rami was gone, Senna was kind of crazy, and Kazupi was unreliable. So it didn't matter how crazy she was. She could sprout delusions all day for all I cared. Elise was the only one I could rely on. Plus, she had a disorder. There's no denying that, and her songs really had prophesized the New Gen cases, whether they were based on delusions or not. Or New Gen had been happening because her delusions were becoming reality. Nah. If anything, though, that just meant she was even more powerful than I thought. No harm in using that power to my advantage. I needed her, and luckily, for God knows what reason, she seemed to be interested in me. So, as long as I took her words with a grain of salt, I'd probably be fine. Yep, it was all going to be just fine. You're so fucked, Takumi. When I came back to the hospital room,
悔いをって悔いをって闇夜を切り裂き月光を浴びて
damn, she does have a good singing voice.
幾千もの鉄意は汝の痛みとなりて今解き放たれるやがて叫びは宙に舞い夜空は赤く染まるだろう
Elise was sitting in her bed, eating some hospital food. Wait, she wasn't actually eating it. She was just listlessly poking her frozen tofu with her chopsticks, all while quietly singing a song. It was one of the prophetic phantasm songs, the one that foretold the Fernujan case, the crucifixion. It was called A Contract of Blood to Seal Our Sin. I was familiar with it myself as I had brought the album. But in this case, Elise wasn't striking a stick, whether she was striking her chopsticks into her tofu, or I suppose it was closer to stabbing. As soon as she saw me, she gave a faint smile as if relieved about something.
戻ってこないかと思ったわ。
Aw.
どこへ行っていたの？
ちょっと調べ物をロビーの PC で。
今日はここに泊まって
Okay.
一緒にいて。
Okay. What? Really? I pushed it stupidly at Elise's bold request. Had I turned to flag without noticing?
お腹空いていない。食べてもいいわよ。
She picked up some frozen tofu with her chopsticks and offered it to me.
それって綾瀬が食べたくないだけじゃ。
そうよ。
She pursed her lips into a smile. Oh, god damn it, why am I... She is becoming cuter by the minute. Fuck.
まずいの。病院食は不浄な邪心に染まっているのね。きっと。
God damn it, wicked hearts this, wicked hearts that. Was that all she knew how to say? If the two of us were talking online, she'd have been banned for spamming by now.
邪心に染まってるのに僕は食べてもいいの？
普段から邪心まみれでしょ、匠は。コンビニのお弁当やカップ麺は不浄なる食べ物の最たる例よ。黒騎士として覚醒するためには摂取をやめるべきだわ。
綾瀬は普段は何を食べてるの？
God, this really is the prime example of like, she is cute, but a little crazy, so you just gotta go for it.
チョコレート。
チョコレートって十分邪心に染まってそうな気がするけど。
Was that actually all she ate? Chocolate? Talk about an unbalanced diet. Hers was even worse than mine. What the fuck?
チョコレートはいいわ。邪心を打ち払う力を持つのよ。あの甘さは。
Oh my god, she is getting cuter by the minute. Bullshit. You may talk fancy, but really, you just have a sweet tooth.
というわけで、匠。さあ。
Elise brought the frozen tofu closer to my face. Yeah, I'll pass. I'm not really a fan of frozen tofu either.
いらない。
それは許されないわ。
What the fuck was going on? This wasn't fair. It was every man's dream to hear a girl say, okay, say, so why did it do nothing for me? Maybe it was because the food was Luisa's unwanted leftovers, or maybe it was because she was afraid to eat girl. Well, she definitely wasn't when we gave up trying to feed me, so I definitely opened my mouth. As I chewed the tofu, the broth spread throughout my mouth.
よく頑張ったわ。これで一歩黒騎士に近づいたわよ、匠。
My heart's going to fucking melt playing this route. What the fuck? I sure didn't feel any closer.
次はこのきんぴらごぼうを。
Please, Elise, no more. How, By the way, we started this by walking into a room and her being covered in blood, by the way. Let's not forget about that. But you know what? I can kind of forgive that. Oh, I get it. God damn it, I get it now. Fucking god damn it, I get it now. Oh, god damn it, I get why people probably really like Elise now. Oh, I get it. Oh, I like chocolate because it's pure. Oh, it's so fucking cute. When she finished feeding me, Elise had once again started going on about the Gondor saga, but this time she really got into it. Even once the sun had started setting, she seemed oblivious to the fact that the room was getting darker. Not once had she thought to turn on the lights. For the most part, though, she pretty much just gone in depth on the things she already mentioned prior to that. Nothing really new. She wasn't exactly the most engaging storyteller, so now I was starting to get sleepy. Though, considering that Shogun was still out there, it probably wasn't smart to be dozing off.
というわけなのよ。理解できた？
Yes.
うん。
Yes, honey, I really like your OC war. I didn't listen to a word she said, but I decided to just not for now. But when I did, Elise squinted at me and then moved in close.
聞いてなかったのね。
She usually doesn't show much in the way of emotion, but I guess even she could get mad under the right circumstances. Maybe I should apologize for upsetting her.
それも邪神に染まっているせいよ。
Oh my god, again with the wicked hearts.
先に取り除かなくてはならないようね。君の侵食した邪神を。
How the hell do you exercise it?
でなければ純粋なる邪神は培養されない。
取り除く?
What's she trying to do to me? The sound of it seemed kind of terrifying. Heart surgery gave me the chills just thinking about it. But it seemed like my guess was off. It was a slightly sorrowful expression. Elise licked her lips. I caught a quick glimpse of her pink tongue, and I must admit that moment was extremely sexy.
君の邪神を取り除くためなら何でもするわ。
Uh-huh.
望みがあったら言って。
Anything? Well, I still didn't know what she meant by exercise your purity, but... Oh, well then, how about, for starters?
キスでもしてもらおうか。
Despite the darkness, I could see the rigidness of her expression. Uh-oh, maybe I gone a little too far, and I really didn't want her to start hating me, and I definitely didn't want her to abandon me, so I rushed to apologize. Or at least I tried to, but she didn't give me the opportunity. Instead, she grabbed me by the collar and shoved me right into a nearby closet. Oh, fuck!
何を?
She pressed her body up against mine, then she closed the door behind us, leaving us tightly packed inside the closet. Damn! The closet was incredibly cramped. It wasn't designed for people. In order for two people to fit, they had to be pressed up right against each other. Didn't help that I could feel Elise's stifled breaths in my ear either. Maybe it was how dark it was, but the situation was really turning me on.
どうしたの?
看護師の見回りよ。
Oh. Oh, so that's why we were hiding. Visiting was prohibited tonight, so obviously sleeping over was too. If they found out I was here, they kicked me out immediately. Okay, but why wasn't Whis hiding with me? Yeah.
この病院にも敵は多いわ。
敵？
グラジオールの使い、私たちの心を支配しようと虎視眈々と狙っているのよ。
God, she is. I have to say, her whisper voice is getting to me. Like, holy shit. It's fucking ASMR levels. Like, oh my god. Now I can kind of understand why people listen to it. Even the nurses were her enemies?
それってただの被害妄想。
静かに。
I had no clue what brought it on, but we suddenly sealed my lips with hers. Oh. Damn. Her lips were so soft. It was enough of a shock to make my mind go completely blank. That was when I heard the door open, and at the same time some strange mechanical sound. Whoever they were trying to be stealthy, but I still had heard them come through the door. Oh, son of a bitch. I heard a female voice. I felt like I heard it before, but I couldn't exactly remember when.
逃げられたのかしら。まさか私たちの正体に気づかれた？ええ、不用意に接触しすぎたのかもしれない。
Huh. She was talking to someone, but I couldn't hear the other person's voice. She must have been on the phone. Elise's lips were still glued to mine. Her sweet aroma lingered in the air. It smelled absolutely incredible. They were so soft. Not just her lips, but her breast, her shoulders, her hips, her thighs. Every part of her body that pressed up against mine was soft as could be. There's probably someone really dangerous standing right outside the closet, but that thought didn't even register in my mind. I was completely lost in pressure.
そっちの処理は済んだ？そう、これからなのね。わかったわ。私はスクランブル交差点に向かうから。それじゃあね。守る。あなたに信仰の救いあれ。
It seemed like they finished their conversation. With that, the suspicious woman suddenly left the room. I could tell that the coast was clear. Probably safe to come out of the closet now. But we still hadn't let go of me, oh god. And then, for only a moment, she pulled her lips away from mine. She looked at me, tears welling in her eyes.
匠、私は導きで、君が救世主。
Okay, you know what? Yeah, sure. You know what? Fuck it. Yeah. Yes.
そう決まっているの。だから何をしてもいいのよ。私に叶えてあげるわ。君のどんな望みでも。
Holy shit. I didn't really get what she was trying to say. I figured she was probably just spewing her crazy delusions again, but either way, I didn't mind. I mean, fucking. If I was in this situation, I'd probably be the same as Takumi. I'll just be honest here, man.
匠。匠。
Elise kissed me again, except this time it was nothing like before. This time, Elise's tongue, slick with saliva, forced my mouth open, shoved its way deep inside and corridor on my own. Holy fuck. Nothing else mattered to me anymore. I just let myself give in to the pressure, voicing Elise's slender, supple hips. Jesus. It was becoming a little hard to breathe. But I tried to nail it, I just ended up sucking in Elise's hot breaths. Holy fuck, man. Elise's saliva spilled into my mouth. It tasted incredibly sweet, swallowed it with audible gulps. My brain was completely paralyzed and mesmerized to the core. Never expected the touch of a pretty girl to feel this good. Oh shit. Damn it, man. Right when I was getting to the good part, I heard a shit. Like, god damn, holy shit, man. Like, woo. Oh, I need to, woo. I need to, if I could wipe down the sweat from my forehead, holy shit, man. That was, whoa. As I said before, fucking the writer knows how to write. Like, damn. I heard a sharp sound off in the distance. Startled by the noise, Louise backed away.
今の音は
Her lips were soaked in a mixture of her saliva. Even in the darkness, it was clearly visible. I couldn't care less about the sound. I just want to get back to making out with Louise and if possible go even further beyond. Oh yeah, losing my V-card for the win! Wait, hold on. Had Louise been with other men before? So, wouldn't that kind of bring down the whole experience? Maybe it will get just right of my brain. Nah, there was no way Louise had past experience. No normie wouldn't want to stick their dick in someone this crazy, after all. I mean, even Masumi-kun had run away from her. I don't know. Maybe back in 2008, but today? Fucking, you gotta take what you can get. Waka waka.
ヘラヘラしていないで、タクミ。
さあせん。
Damn. Louise had swapped me. My hopes and dreams were dashed in an instant. And their voice anxiety arose. Fuck, I was about to cry. Louise was staring daggers at me, but I couldn't help but cling onto her all the same.
ごめん。嫌わないで。
邪神に支配されるのではなく、邪神を己に取り込むのよ。
Okay, whatever you say, honey.
でなければ、黒騎士として目覚めることはできぬ。それを忘れないで。
Pretty sure the reason I got all turned on was because of the kiss, not all this wicked-hearted stuff, but I couldn't be bothered trying to argue with her.
行くわよ。
どこへ？
銃声だったわ、さっきの音。
A gunshot? Here in Japan? In a hospital? Doesn't sound like one to me. Again, I only ever heard them in movies and video, so it wasn't like I had frame of reference as to what a real one sounded like.
銃声だったとして何をしに行くの？
これもまた予言にあったわ。すでに邪神王との戦いは始まっているのよ。
Okay.
黒騎士の心が殺されていく。だから回収するの、理想道。私たちにできるのはそれだけ。
The Black Knights were going to perish? Had that bullet we heard been fired at someone?
警察に。
ダメよ。警察も邪神に支配されてしまっている。
We were reaching unprecedented levels of schizo here. At least I completely lost it. God, Arasaka was nothing more than a delusion of hers. Everything she said was nothing more than a delusion of hers. I had to ask myself earlier what kind of ending she wished to reach, and I was still asking, seriously, what was her end goal here? And what the hell was I supposed to do?
ついてきて、タクミ。
Elise was already on her way out. I hesitated to follow her. But that was when I realized... the three discords running against the window were gone. Had she taken them with her? I bit my lip, hesitating for just a moment longer, but in the end I decided to follow after her. You going through one hell of a day, Takumi, I have to say, man. At least I got straight for the rooftop. It was almost as if she knew exactly where the gunshot had come from. There was no hesitation as she walked. The hospital's roof had been turned into some sort of garden. Plants were all fully grown and the flowers were in full bloom, but it was too dark to tell what color they were. I hid behind Elise and took a look around. I couldn't sense anyone there. In fact, I didn't sense any signs of life at all. Had the gunshot really come from here? And even if it had, who'd fired it? Guns aren't exactly common in Japan.
やっぱり戻ろうよ。もし撃たれたらまずいよ。
But Elise didn't listen to my pleas. Instead, she moved even farther into the garden. meaning I pretty much had to follow her. And then I saw a dim blue light in front of me. It was extremely faint, as if it'd go out at any moment, but it was undeniably there, flickering in the darkness.
ディソードだわ。
What the hell? It was unendingly elegant, yet possessed a razor-sharp edge, as if it longed to cut down all around it. Its presence was completely otherworldly. Is this Mia's disc-sword? Two people were lying on the concrete near the disc-sword. I recognized them.
You are.
Yep, and Ban. Okay. The girl in the school uniform, with eyes pointed up at the sky, was Yua, no doubt about it. What was she doing here? And the other person was a middle-aged man. Looking at him closer, I realized it was the same detective that questioned me at the crucifixion case. They were both lying down on the ground, completely still. I carefully approached them. That was when I noticed the puddle of blood around them. I jumped back and shot, but it was too late. Crimson liquid had already covered the bottom of my shoes. The detective's body was especially soaked in blood. You, on the other hand, didn't seem to be wounded. What the hell had happened here? Why were you and the detective together? Now that I knew there was a detective involved, the gunshot made more sense, but who had he shot at? Yua? Million questions were racing through my head, so many, in fact, I couldn't even begin to organize them. I couldn't handle confusion, so I turned to Elise for help. Looking as solemn as ever, she ignored the detective and approached Yua's body. Stopping right in front of the pool of blood, she kneeled beside Yua and felt her neck with her fingers.
脈はある。まだ生きているわ。
Yeah, but probably she's in shock from facing her ghost of a sister. Or her delusional ghost.
死んでいる。心は。そっちの男の人はもうダメなようね。
She was speaking in her usual indifferent tone.
なんでそんな落ち着いていられるんだ。人が死んでるんだぞ。
言ったでしょ。予言されていたからよ。
I mean, it has, but... The fuck do you mean, foretold?
綾瀬が望んだ妄想じゃないの。
そうかもしれないわね。それを確かめる術はないけれど。
そんな。
構わないわ。原因が何だろうと。
Then Elise stood up. Oh shit. And pulled her disc sword out of thin air. She took her disc sword, glowing bright red, and touched it against the disc sword that was stuck in the ground. Generally, a high-pitched resonance reverberated through the air. It wasn't so shrill it felt like a drill was carving a hole in my ear, or at least that was the image the feeling evoked. Immediately after the sound began, the shapes of the two disc swords began to effortlessly distort. Their transformation completely ignored the laws of physics. It was like they were made of liquid or clay. The two swords warped repeatedly, as if writhing in pain. The resonant sound only got worse. Unable to bear it, I tried plugging my ears, but it didn't help in the slightest. Until suddenly a shockwave rippled through the air. Before I could even begin to understand what was happening, this sword in the ground was in Elise's left hand. Oh shit. Elise must have been in agony. Her expression made that very clear. But only a moment later, she looked at me and smiled. She was even blushing slightly, almost like she was aroused or something.
4本目よ。これで。
Okay, are you making your sword powerful by doing that? Even though there were corpses right in front of her, and whoever shot the middle-aged detective was probably still nearby, how could she put that sword over literally everything else? Was it really that necessary to get the ending she wished to reach? Did she really need all 7 disc swords to defeat Galdor? Did Galdor even exist?
ギガロマニアックスとなったものは誰だろうと一度は壊れているんだよ。
Yeah. I remembered what Senna told me. I suppose that meant Ayase had also broken at some point. Yeah, I think she broke at the Chinese water drip torture method. Did that mean I eventually break too? Well, the eventually was probably unnecessary. After all, I already felt like I was going to break thanks to everything happening with Ayase. Ayase quickly erased the swords. Two of them vanished as if dissipating into the air itself.
このこと警察に通報するの
You was my enemy. I wouldn't lose any sleep about leaving her body here among all this carnage. But I already stepped into blood. My shoes were leaving red footprints all over the pavement, which would yet again be enough to make me a suspect.
通報はしないわ。
A wave of relief washed over me. Ayase was gazing up at the night sky. Her expression still seemed slightly sorrowful.
そろそろね。
Drawing near? What was?
グラジオールは間もなく目覚めるわ。ツイグラーの予言によれば。
Okay.
心して、匠。最悪に包まれるのよ、世界は。君は見たこともない世界を見ることになる。でも乗り越えて、そうしなければグラジオールを倒せない。
Ayese's voice lacked its usual composure. It was almost like she was scared. Would it really be that bad? Whatever was about to happen? Or should I say the delusion that she was about to turn into reality?
まだ心の準備が
だったら急いで。もう時間がないわ。
Ready myself? Colonel, that's easier said than done. I don't even know what you think is supposed to happen, so what am I supposed to do?
世界は誘拐し、連結が始まる。
Ayase mumbled that to herself, looking up at the sky. I decided to look up at it too. In the sky I could see a single spot dyed a vivid white. A white so bright it stuck out like a sore thumb in the night sky. What even was that? I gulped. Come to think of it, hadn't some people reported that the sky had turned white right before the last earthquake? The white spot was gradually expanding. It had an incredible sense of restlessness to it. It left me completely speechless, holy fuck.
グラジオールが目覚めた。
Well, shit. Oh boy. Fucking know what to. The earth trembled. The building shook. No, it wasn't just the building shaking, everything was. The white spot in the sky grew even bigger. Then, we were immediately assaulted by a violent buzzing noise, one that sounded similar to the resonance of the discord from before. My head felt like it was about to explode. And then... Oh shit. The world was dyed completely white. Well, fuck, huh? Was I dreaming? Even though it had been white only a moment ago, the sky was dyed red. The world itself had turned to rusty vermilion. This couldn't be real. It had to be just another illusion, or at least that was what I tried to tell myself. All across the sky I could see clouds upon clouds of black miasma. They seemed almost humanoid in shape. They had to be illusions, though. Even if they were unusually vivid, the clouds of haze spontaneously flickered in and out of sight. Even when I thought one had disappeared or would pop up somewhere else a moment later. The blots of black miasma were innumerable. Just looking at them made me feel uncomfortable. And there was this intense, rotten-smelling stench. It was so bad it nearly brought me to vomit. I didn't want to be here for even a second longer. That feeling was as strong as could be. Oh, shit. When I came to, the sky brightened up a little, and Shibuya transformed into a city of death. AH Hospital was still standing, but cracks ran up the walls, and the interior was in complete disarray. Only barely managed to make it out. The entrance to the outpatient clinic was swarmed with ambulances. The place was overflowing with people trampling over each other, fighting for medical attention. When I had woken up, Ayase had smiled at me and said, "Let us return to Shibuya." It had been just before 6 a.m. at that point, which meant that I'd been out for over 10 hours. Hito's body was nowhere to be found. I asked Ayase if she knew what happened to it, but she didn't seem to know. Well, shit. Here's this site once more. No matter what. Shibuya is hardly a 5-minute train from Yogi, but due to the earthquake, all public transport was at a halt. The railroad had been torn to shreds, meaning there was no way it was going to be restored within the day. So we were forced to walk, something that was way harder than it sounds. The road was full of holes, and rubble from fallen buildings was constantly in our way. It was difficult to even walk in a straight line. As a result, the trip back to Shibuya Station ended up being a 3-hour struggle. The surrounding area had been completely annihilated. Almost all of the buildings had collapsed. Countless bodies were strewn all around us. They were so pitiful I couldn't stand to look at them. There were also a number of people still alive. Some were like us, just wandering along in complete shock, while others were crouched by the rubble, waiting for help to arrive. And of course, there were many people clinging on to dead bodies as they bawled their eyes out. Even though they had survived, they all seemed dead, still seemed dead, but the trauma had drained them of every ounce of life they once had. The terrible odor of blood and dust filled the air, making even the act of breathing completely unbearable. Was this Galdor's doing? Was Galdor the name of the earthquake, maybe? I suppose that would make sense. They always gave their hurricanes names in America, like Andrew or Katrina. Yeah. Is this how Ayase wanted things to end? Was this the ending she wished to reach? Then again, if you wanted to bring about the apocalypse, this would probably be the best way to do it. But there was no way a single person could cause a catastrophe on this scale, even with the powers of Google Maniac, or the Black Knight, as we always like to call them. She said that the world shall fuse and all shall be consolidated, or whatever. But what exactly had she meant by that? While following behind Ayase through the city, I took a peek at the side of her face. Unsurprisingly, even Ayase had turned pale when faced with the current state of Shibuya. She walked in silence, clenching her jaw as if trying to endure intense pain.
Oi, minna! ここは危ないから避難場所へ行こう!
A middle-aged man in a suit was screaming to the crowd. He was calling out to all the survivors in the area, like us included.
救助を待ってたら日が暮れてしまう! 避難場所まで行けばきっとなんとかなる! ここに留まっているよりずっとマシだ! 辛いかもしれないが立って歩こうじゃないか! 俺たちには亡くなった人たちの分まで生きなくちゃならない使命があるんだ!
Huh. Where the hell had that old guy gotten so much energy from? Few people listened and started moving toward him, but most people stayed put. Ayase didn't even look at him. She just kept on moving toward her destination, and I had no choice but to follow. Suddenly I felt a throbbing pain in my forehead. Ever since we left Yugori, I've been getting headaches just like this.
頼むよ! みんな立ってくれ! どうしてわからないんだ? 僕は危ないんだって! 瓦礫の下敷きになったらどうするんだ? 俺はみんなに生きていてほしいんだよ!
My head hurt. Oh shit. What the fuck? Well, what the? Suddenly the world was dyed red once more. The sky was covered by vermilion clouds. It was the exact same thing I'd seen in my dream. The asphalt of the road, the concrete of the debris, the buildings, the shattered glass on the ground, the abandoned broken down cars, the uprooted trees from the sidewalk, all of it had been corroded, overtaken by rust. What the fuck? Am I in Silent Hill? Maniacal laughter echoed throughout the area. It was coming from the same person that had been trying to get everyone to take refuge just a second ago. His body was covered in a cloud of black miasma. But it wasn't just him. Excluding the dead bodies, there were clouds of miasma around everyone I could see. The hazes were nearly human-sized. They swayed back and forth whimsically, each one unusually vivid. It was a horrifying sight. It was exactly like in my dream. That man's laughter was starting to annoy me. Looking back toward him, I'd noticed that, for some odd reason, he had an assault rifle pointed straight at me. Oh shit.
今なら警察いないから殺し放題じゃないか
He started spraying bullets. Am I synchronizing with Elisa's delusion? I mean, we hit the ground. I've been shot. Or so I thought. I undoubtedly been saying rite of fire. But I didn't feel any pain. I went to my head to double check.
避難場所に行けば水や食料それに毛布もあるここに留まっていても意味はないんだ
He wasn't holding a gun anymore. He was just pleading with the crowd around him.
さあ生きる気力を持とう無駄に
But it all changed so suddenly. For a split second, the man's body was covered in static. Before the static, he had his hand raised up in the air, but after that hand was holding a gun. Doing that so quickly was seemingly impossible, was barely even coherent. It couldn't possibly be real. It was almost like watching a movie with severely jarring jump cuts. And then he started firing again. People that were shot fell to the ground, blood spurting everywhere. Their screams echoed throughout the air. Yet somehow none of the bullets were hitting me. It really felt like I was in a movie. It wasn't real life.
Takumi.
When I heard my name, I came back to my senses. Elise was staring at me. She looked like she was about to say something, but in the end she didn't. She simply turned her back and kept on walking. I took a look at the sky. It was cloudy but not red. The surrounding scenery was overcast by a dark gray, no vermilion in sight. The shooter had gone back to pleading with everyone to evacuate. All the people that had been shot were now unharmed, and none of them were engulfed by black miasma. Okay, I feel like that's a misspelling. Miasmata? Yeah, I don't... Wait a second. What the hell had just happened? Another one of my delusions? If it actually had been, then I must have really lost my touch. That delusion hadn't even been slightly realistic. It had been like a movie or a video game or something.
Takumi, 早く来て.
Elisa urged me forward. Where the hell was she going anyway? Was she headed for the evacuation site? The one that guy was yelling about? She's going somewhere. But if that was true, then she wasn't going the right way. Instead, she went right into the Ikushira wine station. What the hell was she thinking? Fucking... Are we going to know it too? There were no staff members at the station, and the trains were all stopped in place. Elise made her way down to the tracks and started walking along them. Naturally, the tunnel was pitch black. It wasn't designed to be traversed on foot, after all. It hadn't collapsed yet, but felt like it was only a matter of time before it did. I would have never imagined that I'd ended up walking on railroad tracks like this. What an adventure, though. I should make a movie about it. Wait, pretty sure there already was one. Granted, it'd come out before I was born, so I obviously hadn't seen it. Just knew it was about some people walking down railroad tracks to find a body. Never heard about that movie. Meanwhile, walking through this underground tunnel isn't nearly as exciting. If we continue along this route, we eventually pass by the Shinsen Oh my god. May God help me. Shinsen Komada Tomade Ikunoe and Kitazawa stations. Getting in and out of Shibuya had been incredibly difficult, so using the subway's tunnels was actually a pretty good escape route. But we had started near Gori, and now we were heading towards Shibuya, so something told me that Elise wasn't using this as an escape route.
どこへ行くの
深センの駅よ。
What the hell was the point of going there? Maybe she was planning to head to Sumoe from there, or maybe like base? Actually, I never told her where my base was, so probably not the second one. Speaking of which, I wonder if Zeratan had survived. What if the Kunai conference hall had collapsed because of the earthquake? Oh god, all my poor waifus could be buried in rubble! Then when my trivial concerns are interrupted by a bright light. Here we go. There's a railroad crossing right before Shinshin Station, where light from the sky peeked in from above. After the crossing, the rails went into another dark tunnel, and after that was the Shinshin Station platform. The lights at the platform were out, likely due to the earthquake. It was pretty damn dark. There was almost no one around. All I could see were two girls sitting on the platform. Judging by their uniforms, they were Sumire students. Well, if we approached them without a hint of hesitation, maybe she knew them or something. As we got closer, their figures in the darkness became clearer, my brow furrowed. I felt like I'd seen them somewhere before. And then I realized exactly who they were. Senna, Kazupi! But something was wrong with them. They should have been able to hear us coming, but they didn't even turn to look at us. No, they just sat there, their heads looking down at the ground, not moving.
Senna? Kazupi?
I tried calling out to them, but the two still didn't respond. What the hell was up with them?
黒騎士の心が殺されていく。
Well, shit.
だから回収するの。理想道。
Perish? Why the fuck are they perishing? Wait, no fucking way. I rushed over to the girls in a panic and peered into Senna's eyes. Senna's eyes were devoid of life. They were completely hollow. With no light left within them, they stared into nothingness. Those sharp eyes of hers, always glaring at everyone and everything, not a single trace of them remained. She was trying to murmur something, but her voice was so incredibly faint. All that came out was a mere croak. I couldn't make out a single word she said. Kazupi was the same. The white behind her eyes had died out. Her mouth hung open, drool trickling down her cheek. She tried to speak, but her voice was too hoarse to understand. Something had happened to them. What the hell was going on in this city? Okay, so obviously Suwa got to them before Takumi ever got here. And Yua obviously got mind fucked by, seeing her sister. Or the ghost of her sister, So I was absolutely clueless, so I turned to Elise for answers, but she didn't even seem remotely interested in their fates. Their disc swords were lying nearby. Elise took her own sword and brought it near them. The same shrill sound from before reverberated throughout the station. The three disc swords began to warp and transform. Really powering up your fucking sword, huh? They came to shockwave, assaulting my body like a fierce gust of wind. And once it passed, Elise was holding Senna and Kazupi's disc swords.
これで6本揃った。
Yeah. Blushing in apparent arousal, Elise looked at me.
匠、あとは君が手に入れるだけよ。
Okay, so obviously you don't know about getting itchies. That's bad. How the hell could you be so calm right now? My frustration was then met by the same throbbing pain in my head as before. Fuck. The world turned red once again. Everything began rusting, rotting, and eroding away. I could smell a strong odor coming from Kazupi. Kazupi slowly rose up from the ground. Her entire body was dyed red. Was that blood or rust?
殺してやる。
Oh shit. Kazupi raised her head. Her face was covered by a black miasma. The sheer blood thirst coming from her was terrifying. Kazupi stretched out her thin arms as if to try and strangle me. But when I blinked, she had somehow ended up back on the ground. Her head hanging downward. She had an indescribable expression on her face.
殺してやる。
Jesus. Static rang in my ears and Kazupi instantly teleported beside me. The black miasma gazed my shoulder. A ghastly cold sadness chilled down my spine.
みんな殺してやる。
Jesus.
たくみちゃんも鏡でズタズタに。
Mirror, huh? Her whispers were emotionless and robotic. It only made them all more horrifying. They blinked once more. Sena's body was slumped over in the ground. She had been cut to pieces. Kazuki finally swung her down her arms and stabbed Sena in the head with a shard of glass. Dark blood stained Sena's long, beautiful black hair. Kazuki then raised a piece of glass in the air and stabbed her once more. Static. Now Kazuki was on the ground instead of Sena, and Sena had mounted a homeless man that appeared out of nowhere. Her head was buried in his shoulder. Her head was moving up and down constantly. What was she doing? Her hair was covering her face, so I couldn't really tell. That is, until she finally looked up. The man's shoulder was stained in blood. His flesh was minced like ground beef. I could even make out a little bit of pink muscle glistening from within. Oh my god. Wait, no. Was it blood? Muscle? Rust?
Oh, hi. I hear.
Oh my god. Sena finally turned around and I could now see the blood surrounding her mouth. She was chewing on something, devouring it. What the fuck is going on? My legs trembled, and the second I lost my balance and collapsed to the ground, the world returned to its original color. My headache vanished too. I pressed my head against my forehead and shook my head intensely. I felt extremely sick, like I was about to vomit. Is this what happened to everyone else besides fucking, Elise? It didn't really feel like a panic attack or a shock or anything like that. It was more like a poison was slowly trickling through my veins, spreading through my entire body. One of that hit me with a horrible sinking feeling that weighed heavily on my mind. I raised my head and looked at Sena and Kazuki. They were still where they had been originally, on the ground, motionless.
どうしたの?
Elise held out her hand. It was the same look from earlier, one that told me she had something more to say. I took her hand and stood up from the ground. Fucked up shit's going on, Elise, man. Like, what the fuck is happening? Like, holy shit. But, I think this is a good stopping point right here, folks. As, we'll probably get to the end of this next episode. But what a fucking roller coaster. Holy shit, this route has been. Like, yeah, I get why people really like Elise. I think I really like her, too. Like, holy shit, that whole scene in the closet, whew, damn, man, all I'll say is, whew, god damn, man, it got a little hot in here, even though it's fucking December. But yeah, I'm really interested to see where the hell is this going to go now. Like, what the hell is up with this miasma, and what the hell is, like, happening to everyone else that's making them go, like, kind of brain dead, you know, like completely just useless? Is it just simply because like Yua confronted Mia's ghost and that Kazuki met with her mirror self? That's what it was trying to do to her, and because Takumi didn't show up in time, she was fully consumed by that, and so was Sena with the death of her father. Is it simply that, or is it something else, like this damn fucking Takumi going to Silent Hill vision? Like, what the hell is going on? I'm so curious as to see how the hell this all unfolds. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. If you did, hit that subscribe button. If you liked it, hit the like button. But comments below. Check out the Discord server going in. I'm at Twitter. Check description below. And yeah, it's been Voidlego. I'll see you guys next time. See ya!